Wow, it's been a while. YouTube, vinyl community, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and I'm back for an album review. It's been a little while, but I felt like making one, so I felt like I would jump on and do like a whole different kind of style. I just want to do a one take and see what happens, see how I like it, see how you like it. Keeping up with the trend of videos that I mostly do, which happen to be on the Beach Boys, and albums that are in their discography that definitely don't get reviewed as often, because whenever they talk about the Beach Boys, it's always Pet Sounds or probably Pet Sounds. That seems to be the only album they have. But today, it's the middle of July 2016. It's summertime. It's fun. It's warm out. I thought, you know what? Let's review something that, as far as I can tell, I don't see any reviews for on YouTube. The Beach Boys. 1991, I think, or 1992? 91, I think. This is an album called Summer in Paradise. I only own it on cassette. And this was super hard. Actually, I came across this somewhere, but CD versions of it go for an insane amount of money. But more on that in a bit. Let's have a little bit of backstory as to how this album came to be and why I wanted to review it. First off, in the 80s, by the mid-80s, after Dennis Wilson had died, the Beach Boys got together and made this album called The Beach Boys. It was self-titled, and it was their first album to really focus on using electronic instruments, like lots of synthesizers, drum machines, and recording it mostly digitally, I think. It did fairly well video-wise, like they had a couple of singles that were on MTV. And then 1988 comes around and Kokomo comes out. And as we all know, that is just, you either love that song or you hate it. Either way, it was a gigantic smash for them. It was their first #1 since Good Vibrations 22 years earlier. And we haven't heard the end of it from Mike Love. So they put out the Still Surfin' or Still Cruisin' album in 1989, and that featured more car songs, surfing songs. Wasn't their best album either. A couple years later, we come to this. This is the only album in the Beach Boys discography not to feature anything to do with Brian Wilson. And even that tiny bit where he contributed to other albums helps the other albums out. So let me show you a close-up of this jacket here. It's actually got the words inside, which is, remember that? So this is kind of a mixture. Actually, this might be like the British copy. The American copy had a different cover, but the British one had a giant American flag on it, because that's, I guess, what England wants to see is a giant American flag. Mike Love was at the helm of the band at this point, and the other guys were basically there for a paycheck, for what it sounds like. Him and Terry Melcher, they had co-written Kokomo, decided they wanted to make an album of summer songs, a summer soundtrack. So they came up with this. Let me also add that this album, upon its initial release, sold less than 1,000 copies. That would be like if everyone in your town said, I don't know if I want to buy that, and then only 900 people went out and bought it. In like one town. The distribution company that put out this thing apparently went bankrupt because of this album. It's extremely hard to find a physical copy of it now. It's become a collector's item of sorts, especially the CD, which also had a long box, I believe. I've only seen this tape once, and I bought it. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it was one of those things where I was like, wow, this is apparently the worst Beach Boys album of all time. I need to own it. This song. Alright, let's just go through the track listings real quick. Opens with Hot Love in the Summertime, or Hot Fun in the Summertime. Sly and the Family Stone cover. And honestly, it starts off not too bad. It's got that early 90s sheen, that super overproduced, glossy, fake drum machine garbage. But it's not too bad. Carl's voice saves it. But then you keep repeating this message of like, you know, school's out, or whatever the line is, like, school's done, school's over for the summer. Like, they keep repeating this over and over again. It's, we get it. Stop saying it. The second song on the album is a cover of their own song, Surfin'. It's a reimagined version to make it up to date for the 90s. Basically the same words, there's a couple new words here and there. Again, that glossy 90s sheen. I just want to jump to this song. This is, I think, the next song, Summer of Love. The word excitations comes back. Comes back for a love vacation. Mike does this whispery thing where he's kind of sort of rapping throughout the song. This was apparently meant to be a duet with Bart Simpson for a planned Simpsons movie that never came out. It didn't, thank God it didn't come out, but it was used in an episode of Baywatch. And the video is just terrible. Brian's actually in the video. But this line, girls are always ready for a summer of love. Alright, okay. But this chorus is so bad. What the hell is that? That's literally taking everything amazing about the Beach Boys, having someone like cut it up, like give it paper cuts, and then dump it in a pool of Bactine. It's painful to listen to. It boggles my mind, where I don't know if that's catchy, or sometimes I'll find myself being like, alright, that's memorable, but is it memorable because it's awful, or memorable because it's slightly tolerable? I keep coming away from this song, like scratching my head, like, you know, like this makes me want to burn my cassette. So that way there's only 900,000, yeah right, 900 copies left. That song's pretty bad. Island Fever, it's catchy, it's totally predictable, you know, oh, doctor, I think I've got a case of Island Fever kind of song. You know, we've heard it. Next song, Still Surfin', that's another parody of themselves. It's about a guy named Surfer Joe who, guess what, he's still surfing. Slow Summer Dancin', that's a Bruce Johnson lead vocal. It plods along, it trods along, does absolutely nothing for me. Strange Things Happen. Now this song I actually kind of like. The chorus. It's the best chorus on the album. Al sings it. I think it's Al. It's a interesting combination of words and music, which it completely stands apart from the rest of the album. It doesn't have that cheesy Kokomo vibe, which you can tell they took Kokomo and then tried to make like 12 of those on this album in varying degrees of slight awfulness. But Strange Thing Happen is a very interesting song chorus-wise. The verses are just the same old Mike whispering thing, which I don't understand why that's... I guess because it worked on Kokomo, he thinks he can just do a whole album like that? I don't know. Remember, Walking in the Sand is a Shangri-La's cover, and let's just leave it with that. The only thing that saves this song is Carl's voice. Carl can sing the phone book and make it sound amazing. Yeah, that's about as much as that song deserves to be talked about. Lohanya Aloha, another song featuring the word paradise, and even Carl can't save this one. It's a complete throwaway. Van Dyke Parks does the accordion on it. Like, what? Under the Boardwalk could be summed up in one word. No. No. Summer in Paradise, the lead song on this album, the title track. This is a polarizing song for some fans, and me too, I suppose. It's got a great message. Save the earth, this is the only one we got. Take care of it, take care of each other, don't pollute. You know, be good. Great message. You know, Mike does most of the lead vocals. Bruce does some later on. You know, it's I think they wanted it to be as big as Kokomo, just to have that positive message, and I can totally see that. it's just, it comes across as so cheesy and so overproduced and so overthought and forced that the message can't get beyond the stifling grasp around the neck that is the production of this lifeless song. It could be so much better. And the last song, Forever. This is one of Dennis Wilson's most beautiful songs from the Sunflower album. And that version is absolute magic. Absolute magic. Just amazing. And then you get John Stamos singing it because of Full House, and they were all hanging out together, and that's just how it rolled. And he did his own version of it with the babies in the video, whatever it was. Leave a good thing alone. You know, I have nothing against John Stamos. I think he's great. I don't know the guy, but he seems like a nice guy. You know, he's a good drummer and all that, but just, there's some things you don't mess with when it's already perfect. And I would say Forever is one of the perfect Beach Boys songs. Just leave it alone. Don't mess with it. Or as Mike would say, don't fuck with the formula. This album, overall, as a whole, it's overproduced, it's synthetic, it's fake, it's repetitive, it's stale, it's lifeless, it's very forced, and it leaves me feeling sad. It doesn't give me that summer fun, happy, relaxed feeling. It makes me feel like, what the hell happened? Like, I understand, like Mike was probably ruling the roost at this point, and the other guys maybe didn't have a whole lot of say, and barely anybody from the Beach Boys even played on this album. I think Bruce did some piano on it. Other than that, it's just their vocals. They just showed up and sang on top of it. It's a very lazy, uninspired, mediocre, like, I don't know. I run out of slight negative descriptions for how I feel about this album. You know, I try to find the fun in it. I try to find the spirit they were going for, but there's no spirit. There's no magic. There's no life. It limps along trying to be Kokomo, and it doesn't do a great job at it. And that would be why it sold less than 1,000 copies and helped the distribution center go bankrupt. And this was it from the Beach Boys until 2012 with That's When God Made the Radio. That's Why God Made the Radio. Beyond like that Stars and Stripes CD with the country singers doing duets. As far as like new material goes, it took almost 20 years for a new Beach Boys album, and then Brian was there, and That's Why God Made the Radio is pretty decent. You know, it's easy to come on here and just slam something, but I've listened to this album so many times, and I've really given it conscious thought, and I've really tried to focus on why it makes me feel the way I feel, or how it would have been approached in society in the early 90s. I don't even remember this album coming out. I was a kid in the early 90s, and I don't even remember hearing this album or of it at that time. And I was a Beach Boys fan. So it must have gone completely under the radar. But I'm left feeling empty. It's kind of like when you really want dessert, and the only thing that's available is like really terrible options, and you eat it anyway because you're starving, and you really wanted something good to eat. And after you eat it, you're kind of like, why did I even bother? That's kind of how I feel with this album. You know, it's never been reissued. It's been out of print since 1991. You know, the mind-boggling thing for me recently was I found a live video from this past summer of 2016 of the Beach Boys playing Summer in Paradise. So for most people, that was probably a brand new song. Yeah, that was mind-blowing. I thought that thing was dead and buried and gone and forgotten about forever. So, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to resurrect some old stuff they haven't played in a while, or, you know, beyond the fact that the message of that song is fantastic. It's a great message. But here's that, did they record the drums in a cave? Or, I'm sorry, did they record the computer in the cave? It's just one of those things where, like, it hurts your head to, like, know that this exists. I'm a giant Beach Boys fan, but I cannot get behind this album. If I had to give it a rating out of a 10, oof, I might give it like a 1. And that's mostly not to sound like a jerk. It's just kind of a 1 album. The only thing that saves it is the chorus to Strange Things Happen and Carl's vocals. And you can tell even he's kind of phoning it in. Like, it's a rough album. If you happen to find a copy, pick it up and give it a chance for yourself. It's on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube. Check out the music videos and do some investigation for yourself and see how you feel about it. It's easy to bash something when you've never heard it or seen it, but you've read things about it. So give it your own impression and see how you feel. This has been a long video. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews. This has been a summer in kind of paradise with the Beach Boys. And that's it. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, and have a good summer.